This video is going to focus on rendering, but before we get too far into that, we're going to talk about changing the appearances of our part. Currently, you probably know how to change it by changing your overall material, but often these materials we want to have multiple looks on the same thing, or we don't necessarily want the look that is specifically attached to our material itself. With this, what we're going to do is up top here, we have a material tab, or appearance tab, sorry. And when we click on that, we're going to be able to go in and we're going to be able to right click and edit our materials. So I'm just pointing out in here that I have this cup of water, this cup that has a unknown substance in it. I'm going to make it into water. But what we're going to be able to do is we're going to be able to actually change it so that one of these pieces is going to look like it is plastic, the other one is going to look like it's water, even though they're the same model here. So with that, I'm going to go back to my material tab, I'm going to right click, I'm going to add an appearance. And with this, what we're going to be working with is this set of pieces right here. Each of these is a different way to select what we want to do. So this first one is our default. This is, we want to edit the entire part. The second one is a face, we got a surface, we have a body, and we have a feature. So we're really just going to focus on the faces and the bodies. So we currently have two different bodies. I'm going to go down and I am going to select bodies. I'm going to select the body that I'm interested in, and I'm going to go into organic and I'm going to find a picture that looks a little bit like water. I considered orange juice, but we're going to do water. So with that, I go down and I grab water. I select that as my look. And to decide which water I want here, we're going to go ahead and add our checkbox, and we have completed that view. With this, we can also add an appearance, and we can add appearances to surfaces. So in this case, I'm actually going to create a surface on the top of the water that I'm going to call water as well. We will talk about why I'm doing this in a different video, but this is just going to make things look a little bit nicer later on. And then I'm going to add a second appearance. I'm going to change what my cup actually looks like in this case. So I'm going to go faces, and we can see that I have a bunch of different faces that are actually spelling out my one cup measurement, and I can change it not only how I have been with the material, I can go into this whole section, and then there is more pieces there if I wanted to change it in order to change the appearance manually. However, I often find that I want these, and what we're going to see is we can make a lot of adjustments. We can change these things when we get into Visualize, which is where a lot of the stuff is happening anyways, so nothing we're going to be too concerned with. Okay, with this, we are now ready to get into Visualize Studio. First, we're going to go into Tools, and we have add-ins right here. And we've used this a couple times in the past to get other features added to our SolidWorks application. In this case, we're going to use it to add our SolidWorks Visualize, which is this guy right there. Oh, and I exit out of it. But that is going to take a second to load, and right up top here, we see that we added a new tab, and we have the ability to open up our part. We can export everything into Visualize for us. It's going to take a second to load here, and it loaded on a different screen, so let me pull it over. And here we have Visualize. And Visualize, we can kind of move around. There are other ways to move around, but we can do it just like we do in SolidWorks. In order to rotate, we'll get into a couple other features for moving it in different videos. But for here, we're just talking about our appearances. So with this, what I'm going to find is that if I go into my appearances, I have 4 appearances because I created 4 appearances. If I click on each of them, they'll show me the area that it is set up. And those are the same 4 appearances that I had when I was working with within SolidWorks, they've all been pulled in, and the properties from those have been pulled in. Now, within this, I have a different set of library appearances. So I went in to the library here, and I'm looking at all of my possible appearances within SolidWorks Visualize. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is select a couple that I might want a little bit more for my parts here. And what you're going to see here is I go to medium gloss, I only have the one color. But really what this is important for is this is medium gloss plastic. There were, I don't know, maybe 8 of them in the SolidWorks medium gloss plastic. However, for us, we're not too concerned with the fact there's only one color because we can always just change the color later. And I can hit the up arrow. So this is what we're using to go back a level. And what I'm figuring out here is I think that I forgot to hit this guy twice. So I'm still under plastics. There we go. And back to my general menu where I can go to organic and I can find my water. And I again have less options than I did before, but we can mess with these in order to more or less easily create our other options. One piece with Visualize is we have 2 options, and I'm going to pop back a second. Sometimes there's a third one. There's the fast one. Depending on your version, you may or may not have this, but we have this little green dot, which is going to create a base render. This is this guy right here. This is more or less showing us our SolidWorks screen. It's going to load a lot faster. It's going to work a lot easier, a lot less hard on your computer. And then we have the high def view of it where we're actually partially rendering. We're getting a final view, and it's going to be a lot slower in order to create our pictures, and it's going to drag a little bit more on the computer, but it's going to look a whole lot nicer, and it's going to give us a whole lot better idea of what our final render is going to look like. So as you can see, when I moved my screen there, it took a second to adjust, but that is the appearances there. And as you can see here, we added 2 appearances. We have 2 extra appearances here. The old appearances are still here. We could click on, we could click on one of these pieces and drag it back out and put it on our material if we wanted to go back to using that appearance. However, we can also delete it. It's not actually attached to anything within our piece. But we have extra pieces here. And the other thing we can do is if we wanted to have multiple waters and we didn't want them to be under the same category, we wanted to change one slightly, we can actually click on one of these and click Control D to duplicate it. Seems like it should be Control C, but it's not. And then within these, we actually have the ability to go in and change. We've got general texture and texture mapping right up here. And we can change how things look based off of that and change colors. And I am currently in the water one. Let's go ahead and jump to our plastic. We can change the appearance type, which is some sheen and other pieces to it. But what we're going to do is we're actually just going to go change the color, and you can see that I can physically change the color to whatever color plastic I want. The fact that I only had one option there originally is not limiting me as much as it might have appeared originally. So that's great. We have our appearances set up with that. A couple other pieces that we could play with as far as transparency and other things. We're not going to get too far into that for this class. We're going to talk more about textures in a different video though. So with that, I want to go up top here and talk about our selection. So this guy, it's our selection tool. We've got options for selecting bodies, faces, appearance sets, and those appearance sets are really what we have set for our appearances. So if I go in and I click on my appearance sets, these guys up top, are what I'm using to select that. If I go in and select my areas, it's actually going to pull me into a new tab. So I'm actually in this guy. And these are the pieces that we imported from SolidWorks. So I have two bodies. So I've got body 1, body 2, which makes sense. They're both called intersect because they were last made with the intersect command in order to create this full thing of water right here. So one of them is the water, one of them is the piece. And you can see that each of the intersects has two areas that are selected for different views. So I have for the water, I have the full volume of the water, and then the one face that I set is different so that I could edit that face alone. And for the cup itself, I have two. I have the physical cup, and I have the 1 cup marker on it. And if I click through those, I can actually see it's creating that blue outline around each of them, showing me what each of those is. And since they're all set up as groups, they're set up so that each of them is a single appearance. So there are going to be times when we're going to want to create more of those in order to make things work a little bit better. But with that, that is getting into SolidWorks Visualize, getting our materials set up. We'll be back for more later.